Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series, Zankyou no Terror, or Terror in Resonance. And I have to say, this was a wholly riveting episode. I mean, not since the series Psychopaths was I as glued to every little action unfolding on the screen. We open this episode with a thrilling thievery of nuclear materials, or I'm assuming that's what it is, a bomb in any case, by these two guys who pretty much were following throughout this first episode. 9 and 12 are kind of their code names. They have apparently real names as they're entering this school, where they meet this girl, Lisa, and she is very much, being bullied. She's, I guess, very anxietized by, her surroundings. She doesn't like interacting with people. She's constantly being hounded by her mother through texts and everything, and all she wants in the world is to be left alone. She feels alone. She wants to be wholly left alone, and it's interesting how this personality eventually clashes with 9 and 12. Of course, 9 is the older of the two boys, and he's very much more the subtle one. He's more stoic in any case, whereas 12 is very much more vibrant and kind of goofy. He's almost a fish out of water, like alien, in the way that he's looking at and interacting with his surroundings. It's all seemingly new to him, and he's constantly being told by 9, rein it in. You don't want to be a sore thumb sticking out for people to take notice of and all this kind of stuff. And so, basically we find out that there are these two guys. One of them is a former detective, and his, partner kind of is watching YouTube videos, and they stumble across a video of these two guys calling themselves the Sphinx. And they're basically broadcasting that at a certain time of day, that day, this is 6 months after the intro where the nuclear materials are stolen, essentially, there's going to be a blackout. They're saying that shadows are going to fall all over the city, this not-too-distant future, Tokyo, Japan, and this ends up being true. At the appointed time, 9 and 12 have had it set so that a power distribution node is going to be completely shut down, and it's going to black out half the city. Now, when this happens, they have all these stuffed little toys filled with, basically explosive devices inside that they're planting around the inside of this building. And essentially, while they're doing this, we see that 12 actually stumbles onto Lisa. She's been hiding out in the bathrooms there. I don't know if this is their school building or what have you, maybe transportation area, to go home and that kind of thing. And she's been hiding out in the bathroom, but she notices that 9 and 12 are there. So once the blackout occurs, she starts looking for them and finds 12 as he's positioning all these little stuffed animals around the area. He ends up throwing one to her, and with his goofy smile, makes her essentially promise to hold on to it until he tells her otherwise. And you're thinking, oh my God, he's going to try to kill her. And that's actually part of his plan. Essentially once he meets up with 9 again, he's like, here's the thing. We can either save her, like we failed in the past, or we can let her die right now and not have to worry about her again from this point on. And, essentially what he means by that is calling back on a flashback we see 9 experiences. He's having nightmares of his past. And this may relate to why 12 is so alien in this environment. Apparently they were held at some point by a shadowy, possibly government facility or something like that, possibly tested on, possibly incarcerated, and they made an escape. They were children when this happened, and apparently there were children who they were trying to help escape alongside them, but those children died in an explosion. So it seems to me that even that early on, one way or another, they were, wreaking havoc with bombs and stuff like that. And 9 tends to look at it like it's his own weakness, that, they weren't able to save those children. The only reason they survived was because they weren't as weak as those other children. And what makes them weak is that they couldn't save those other children. So it's a very twisty-turny kind of psychology that 9 has over this. And that's probably why he's very stoic and not wanting to have interactions with people, whereas 12 is very much the sort of 180-degree turn of that, where he's very vibrant and he is having fun with the situation. And so he leaves it to 9. What do we do about this girl Lisa? Do we want to kill her now, or do we want to save her? And 9 essentially calls 12 on it, saying, you're doing this because of the nightmares I'm having, aren't you? Because of our past. We failed in our past, and you want me to relive that choice. And that's essentially what 12 wants. So in the heat of the moment, he called Lisa, and 9 is telling her over the phone, you have two choices. Essentially, you can become our accomplice and will save your life, or you can die right where you stand. Of course, she doesn't want to die. As alone as she wishes to be, she doesn't want to die. And what potentially thickens her interaction with 12, is earlier as we saw, as she's being bullied, being forced to jump in a pool with her entire school uniform on, we see that 12 intervenes, and he does the very same thing, trying to liven up the mood and everything. But this is what he considers to be having fun. And so we basically see 12 race via motorcycle to her aid and save her at the last second, while 9 is giving her instructions on how to get out of the building that's blowing up all around her. And we pretty much end the episode with the former detective realizing that the video his partner had seen earlier in the day broadcasting that this was going to happen was no accident, and they're investigating it. I guess he's had his curiosity spurred so he could become the antagonist to these characters, or perhaps protagonist, depending on your perspective. And we basically leave off with the to-be-continued confrontation, where 9, looking down from steps above her, tells Lisa, "You made your choice, now there's no going back. You're an accomplice." And so we see that in reaction to this Lisa is very much curious about these two, and perhaps there might be even a level of her being smitten with one or both of them. And that dynamic, that relationship playing out is going to be very fascinating as we move forward. And so, I mean, wow, just the animation, the pacing of this episode was pitch perfect. Not that I expected anything less from Shinichiro Watanabe, and the music, Yoko Kanno in top form once again. It was just a marriage of awesome. This entire episode, everything about it, I can't wait to see how this story unfolds. And otherwise I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what your first impressions of Zankyou no Terror are. And otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. So I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.